Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mindset Model podcast and YouTube. Wherever you're listening to this or watching this, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, I've got two disclaimers for you. The first one is if you're watching this on the YouTube, you've probably noticed that I have changed location. Oh, yes. And that is because in the UK right now, we've got another bloody heat wave, which means the podcast studio is like a fucking oven. I literally step in there and I'm sweating within like a second. So that is just not a vibe. So we've come downstairs into our open plan kitchen. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've got the double doors open, which does also mean we've got a lot of wildlife outside. They're living their best life. So you might hear lots of animals outside. The swifts especially. They like to scream in the sky, which is lovely, but also just keep it the fuck down for this podcast. Thank you so much. That's the first disclaimer. I really hope you can hear this. And the second disclaimer is I am really fucking tired. I have just spent the last 3 days in London. It's been full on, it's been incredible. I have been all over the place, just meeting incredible clients, inspiring, incredible people, seeing the sights. All that good stuff. We did an amazing event last night. And I'm just so delighted that I get to meet people from all over the world, actually. There's a few people from, different locations all over the world, loads of different personalities, really empowering women, which I just love to see, be in the same room as them. And being able to give them a space where they can pause and reconnect with themselves and really enhance their natural beauty and leave the event feeling $1 million. So it's incredible, but I am very tired because I've not slept properly in the last 3 days. It's been full on, but I was like, I have to record this podcast and this YouTube episode because I get so inspired, so lit up. So we're just going to hope that halfway through, I'm not just going to start dribbling and pass out. That's what we're going to put out there. We're just going to get through this. And you're going to understand exactly what I'm saying. So let's get started. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing 3 things that I've heard this week that really resonated, 3 mindset shifts, 3 little nuggets of gold for you, my loves. And hopefully, this does resonate with you. So, the first thing, focus. When you are thinking about your goals, your dreams, and your desires, focus. This is the key word of this episode because as humans, we are wired to focus on worst case scenario. You may have noticed this if you've listened to any of my podcast episodes before. We will always go to the worst case scenario and focus in on that. A lot of that is more for like a survival instinct, just to keep us on our toes. But we don't really need that nowadays. So you might find yourself focusing on the things that you don't want. So, say for example, if you've got a really important meeting and your focus is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what if I'm late? What if the traffic's bad? What if this happens? And you end up literally focusing on this image in your mind of it going horribly wrong. Change that focus. Focus on how you want that to go, that laser focus on how you want it to feel, how you want it to be. And I teach in the mindset model method something about the RAS. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but the RAS. This is the reticular, oh my God, can I even talk today? Activating system. Oh my God, I'm not even going to try because I've got like 10% of my brain today. We're just going to call it the RAS. Basically, what this is a bundle of nerves in our minds, in our brains. This bundle of nerves actually acts like a filter. The reason why we have this filter is because our brains cannot process the amount of information that we've got flying at us from all different directions. So I think there's like a gazillion bits of information. I've exaggerated that number a lot, but who cares? There's a lot. And we physically cannot process that in our brains. And that's why it has a filter. Now, you can program this filter to attract things that you genuinely want by focusing on those things. So, when they say, like, say, for example, if you're thinking of getting a new car, whatever that make and model of the car is, if it's like, I'm not very good with cars, I'm going to say a yellow Land Rover. Does that even exist? Probably not. Sounds ugly as fuck, but we're going to go with it. So, a yellow Land Rover. All the car people listening to this are like, who the fuck is this girl? I'm so sorry. I'll choose something different next time for my example. But the yellow Land Rover. So imagine if you're focusing on this yellow Land Rover and you keep focusing, you keep focusing, keep focusing. All of a sudden, you start seeing it all over the place. And you may have noticed that with other things in your life. If there's a specific handbag that you want to get or a specific new phone that you want, all of a sudden, you start seeing it everywhere. And that is because you have programmed your RAS, that filter in your mind, to filter out everything out and focus on this. That is why this is so powerful when you're trying to manifest things. When you know exactly what you want and you focus in on it and you drown out the noise. So, this is the next bit. Because being human, being on this planet, it is very challenging to have a focus when everything around you is madness. So you might have people around you at the moment which are having problems, or there's a bit of negativity, bitching about this, bitching about that, or things that you see in the news and the media that really does have an impact on the way that you're thinking. And you might see that your focus starts to move a little bit towards what other people are thinking and saying. And that's when the power of awareness is so crucial in this step. Being aware of what you're focusing on, because then you can really draw that back in and focus on what you do want. This is a skill that I practice every single day. When shit is going wrong, shit is hitting the fan, things are not working out. They call it contrast. It's just a case of, right, okay, this is not how I want it to go, but we're not going to fully focus on it. We're going to focus on what we do want. It really does work. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. So the next thing, I had a visit from one of my very, very dear friends. Was it last weekend? I believe it was. And we just love talking about everything manifestation, law of attraction, anything spiritual, witchy, magic, all of that. We just go into like a deep rabbit hole of, all of the different possibilities. And we were having a conversation about how much we've both changed in the last couple of years and how some of the things that we were trying to manifest like 2 years ago are like here, but we didn't realize that they were here. Now, that sounds really silly. So, what I mean is, there's something called the law of gestation. That's a hideous word, but that's just the name it's been given. And it's basically when there's like a time delay between when you put your manifestations out into the universe and when you actually receive them. It's that kind of gap in the middle. You can't rush these things. They will happen when they are meant to happen. But that time in between is when people get so impatient. But we also forget that it is going to happen. So, an example is, say, for example, when we were going to get our house. This is going back quite a few years ago, like 5 years ago, because this is our dream house. We absolutely love this. But prior to that, gosh, it must have been like 3 years prior to that, I was like, this is the exact house that I want. This is how I want it to feel. This is what I want it to be like. This, surrounded by nature, in the Cotswolds, in the countryside. This is what we want. But then there is that law of gestation because it's not going to happen overnight. But I just let it go. I just let it go. And that does take practice. And then when it was like the way that we got this house was just absolute madness. I have spoken about this before, but I will just quickly run into it now because it still blows my mind to this day. Um, so I just forgotten about it. I was like, yeah, there we go. That's it. When you forget and you have that detachment and you just leave things be, in the background, things are happening, things are working in your favor. And then we came into a period of time in the UK, it was after COVID, and they had got rid of something called stamp duty, which is when you've got to pay a percentage. I feel like it's like 10% on top of your house value. So we would have had to pay an extra £10,000 or something like that, say. But they got rid of this stamp duty business, got rid of it, like unheard of. Never would happen, never in a million years. And it fucking happened. So that was the first thing. The next thing, the house that we're in came on sale. And it's in a very, very premium part of the town. Like when we say where we live, other people in the town are like, oh, look at you. Huh. So it is, a very desirable, beautiful luxury place to live. Very fucking expensive as well. Completely out of our budget, like 100 grand out of our budget. But this house came on sale. It was out of our budget, but not by too much. So not like, oh my gosh, but then also because the properties here are so desirable, they get snapped up within like seconds. But the most amazing thing to happen to us was the person living in this property loved to smoke like 60 cigarettes a day, which meant it put off other buyers because they would come into this house and be like, it is a fucking ashtray. And the walls were yellow. It had decoration from like the 60s. It was just an absolute fuck no. But for us, it was a fuck yes, because we knew the value of this property. And just with, a few changes, like we could really add value onto it. Anyway, so these are two incredible things which happened. And fast forward, we managed to get this property. This is our house, our dream house. And it is literally like, how the hell am I in this? But if I'd given up, if I'd put pressure on myself to be like, oh my gosh, we're never going to do this, because at the time, like I wasn't earning hardly any money, I was job hopping, the property market was atrocious, like there was just no way. But I was just like, we'll just go with it. We'll just absolutely go with it. This is what I would love. And that is the power of just letting go and understanding the law of gestation. So, that's the second thing. Now, the third thing, this has come up so much this week, and I think it's a message from the universe saying, Sarah, will you just slow the fuck down? The power of the pause. Now, there's so many incredible people in the community that I'm in that talk about the power of the pause. We very much live in a culture of hustle, booked and busy bitches, and quick, rush around and do everything. Like being in London for the last 3 days, I need to actually go in a padded cell, I think, for a couple of hours coming back, just because it's so full on. Everyone is rushing around. It's busy. It's frantic. It's this energy of rush, rush, rush. Nobody is taking time to just be. And just being and just pausing is one of the hardest thing to do, especially if you are someone like me who has got 10,000 ideas popping in, loves to be a high achiever, loves to be their best self, and is just constantly on the go. Um, but a couple of times this week, the power of the pause has come up. And some of my best ideas have come up when I've stopped. And a few people have said this week when I've been out at events and when I've just been speaking to some of my clients. They've been talking about how they feel so overwhelmed and run down, and they just cannot wait to stop and pause. So, if you're listening to this right now, how are you feeling? When was the last time you actually gave yourself a chance to pause and just be? As in, not scrolling, not watching TikTok or whatever the hell people watch nowadays. What do people watch nowadays? I don't even know. I just watch like David Attenborough nature programs because I'm a bit weird, a bit strange like that. Anyway, you're not thinking about what you're making for dinner, what you're doing next week, in 3 years' time, if money's going to be completely different. We're going to be on Bitcoin, or if an asteroid's going to hit the earth. No, you're literally just going to be. You're going to observe. You're going to slow down. You're going to listen to your breathing. When you are in that moment, you can actually think, something that not a lot of us are doing at the moment, myself included, actually thinking, how am I? How am I feeling? What would I love? And when you give yourself that chance to pause, that is when the creative part of your mind comes to life. That is when all of those incredible ideas have got space to come into your mind, and you can really start to think about them and bring them to life. So, power of the pause. So, that is the three things that I wanted to share with you today. I have made it through this episode. I really hope you're all still with me. I really hope what I've said does actually make sense and I'm not speaking a completely different alien language. But three things for you, just to recap. First of all, the focus. What are you focusing on? Can you make some little shifts and focus on what you do want, what you do love? Thinking about the law of gestation, what are you putting pressure on? What are you really attached to? If so, where can you start to release and just trust the process and have faith and realize that some of the best things take time? You know, when you plant the seed, the fruit isn't going to be there literally the next day. No, it can take a little while. And sometimes the longer that you leave that seed, the more the plant gets to grow and the more rich and delicious that fruit gets. If you're picking that apple or that pear too prematurely, it's going to taste like a bag of shit. We don't want that. We want that manifestation to be succulent, juicy, tasty. Law of gestation. Detach. And then the third thing is taking time to pause. So if you are watching this on the weekend or you're watching this Friday night, plan out a bit of time for you to actually just be with yourself, write some notes, and just live your best life. So, my loves, I will see you in my next episode. Have the best week.